I am a whole different person, and I'm so proud to like see myself grow into this. Like, I've definitely blossomed in like maybe 3 months. I've changed 100% completely. And I'm grateful of what I have now, not what I didn't have before. I was really like upset about the things I don't have in life and what I'm missing, like my dad and stuff, where now I'm just grateful for all the things I do have. And my dad might not be here with me physically, but I know my dad's with me spiritually, and I feel like my dad has been with me every step of the way with this whole time that I've been here, and that's definitely made me keep going, keep pushing, and really strong as well as a person. I'm not suffering from anything internally, like in my mind or even relationships or anything around me. I just feel free. Like, I feel like my best time is yet to come. So I've put all that past stuff behind me, and I'm ready to move forward into my new chapter of life. To be honest, if I hadn't booked in here, I'd either be still using drugs quite regularly, or I might not even be here, because it makes you feel so low when you're in a low place that your brain just doesn't function right. Like, you just can't see the positives. And like, I was definitely in probably my darkest place before I came here. Okay, so if I start back from the start, I would go back to, so when I was young, I had like some daddy issues. My dad was here and there, he wasn't always present. And that was, him and my mum split when I was really young. I kind of never remember them being together. So due to my dad being on like drugs and stuff like that, he was just, one day he would show, one day he wouldn't. And that was quite heartbreaking as a kid, and you kind of just feel like abandoned, and you don't really understand because you're too young to understand. And that kind of just like led me, you know, I guess like feeling really alone growing up. And I didn't really know who to talk to because it was a bit hard to talk to mum. And then as I got to 15, my dad actually killed himself in the car. So I never obviously saw or anything like that, but still was just like another thing on top. So it just left me really quite isolated. And then again, I didn't know who to talk to. And then that kind of led me into like experimenting with a bit of drugs in my time. And then leading on to that, I obviously developed friendships and stuff in that kind of circle. And I started to get into a little bit more heavier drugs when I started to date one of my boyfriends at the time. So that got pretty deep into there. And then from there on, I loved this guy so much, and I kind of left my family because I knew I was using a lot of drugs at the time, and I got pretty deep into that. And that relationship became really abusive, emotionally, physically, and I was quite isolated in this relationship because he made me feel like I kind of was nothing without him. I finally kind of grew out of that. I went away for a couple of years and sort of visited one of my best friends up in Port Hedland, and I thought I had dealt with all that kind of past stuff, but I came back and I was good. I was off the drugs, and like I was like living a really nice life. But then when I started dating another guy, I started to realise he was bringing up all those past triggers that I obviously hadn't dealt with. And friendships and circles of friends, I realised I was doing the same circles all the time. And I didn't realise how bad my depression was. I got to the point where like I kind of thought, when does life get good? And I was in like a really dark place again, started using drugs all the time again. And one day I had a fight with my sister on Mother's Day, and it was over something so small. And that's when I started to realise, I blurted out to them that I had written them goodbye letters once, and I was dead set. I always wanted to end my life. And then because I saw my sister get so upset that day, I realised like how much my sister really loved me, and that wasn't the answer. So I said I was going to get some help, and maybe like a few days later an advert popped up, and it was the Brain Wellness Spa, and it was like $80, and I was like, what's $80 to my mental health? You know what I mean? You can't put a price on that. And then I came here, and yeah, it really, honestly, like I've never turned back. I've never felt any happier, and that was like my first step into like my new chapter of happiness. So I remember just feeling so alone from the last relationship I kind of went into. My friends kind of distanced themselves from me from going into into this relationship with this guy, and I just felt so isolated that I didn't know who to talk to. I didn't know where to turn. I felt like all the people I would go to were gone. And that's when I did write some letters to my family saying goodbye. And I did try to overdose. And luckily I woke up. But that was definitely my darkest day of thinking that life is just too hard to keep moving forward. Like, I just didn't know where to turn and how to change my actions at that point. And yeah, that day I thought, I'm going to say goodbye and do the same thing that my dad kind of did. And yeah, obviously seeing my sister upset when I had opened up to my family about it, that was like, yeah, that was really hurtful, you know. I was excited to come because I knew I wanted to change. I knew I wanted to be a different person. So I came in and I did my first session and I met Rachel, and I'm so glad to have met her. Even when she told me that I was coming up to my final sessions, I was actually really sad because I was like, I don't know if I'm ready to part from her, but she's definitely made my experience so like great. And but after my first session, I knew it had done like something different because I took the lift up, but when I left, I was so happy and I was smiling. And I skipped down the stairs when I left. So, and that's how I knew every time I did a session, I'd always come up the lift and I would always take the stairs down because I just felt so much better when I would leave. I don't know what's just happened, and like I had cried that whole session with Rachel and she was crying with me, and it was quite special because I feel like we connected on such a different level. Like, I have no idea what her past experiences are, but I felt like she understood my trauma. And when I would leave, yeah, I was just like, I don't know, like on cloud nine, you know? I was just happy, so I knew it was doing something. I reckon it would have been about week 4. I noticed a huge difference. I was sitting on the bus and I remember Rachel asking me, like, just, you know, when you feel these emotions, you know, like just take a stop, like, you know, stop and feel like how you're feeling. Like in certain times I would be, even when I was just sitting on the bus, I would stop and I was like, oh my God, I'm so happy. And I would just be looking around and I was present, when normally I'd always have these brain, like my mind would be like chattering. I'd have thoughts, I'd have this, I'd have that. And the first time I thought, wow, like I didn't have anything going on in my mind. And I was just appreciate everything around me, people, scenery. And I just remember being so happy. And I remember emailing because you get an email every week, and I remember clicking on the email and replying like, thank you so much for giving me Rachel, and I'm enjoying my experience so much because I'm just actually appreciating the moment around me now than living in my head. Like, I was constantly, even when I'd walk my dog, I would just be living in my head, just not what was around me. And then I would notice like the birds, I would notice like if it was cold outside, I would notice the clouds, I would notice smells. I was just really present, so it was nice. So I was setting boundaries for anyone that was kind of like draining me is probably the word I'm looking for. So if I hung out with them and I felt like I wasn't myself when I would leave the situation, then I would kind of cut that person off and think, okay, well, obviously they're no good for me if I'm feeling like that when I leave them. I also grew really strong relationships with my family, which is like probably one of the biggest things from this place as well. Like, I feel like maybe my family didn't realise how much hurt I was going through until I said I needed to come somewhere and like help myself. But yeah, my relationship with my mum is just so much stronger, and it's so so nice to feel. And even my sisters and stuff, and my brother as well, my stepdad. But my mum is definitely a relationship I feel that's really strong now. It's nice. I feel like me and my mum were kind of not cold, but it was just a relationship that was just like, you never really spoke about your feelings, or we never really just called each other. We're like, now we like FaceTime each other and we'll have chats, and like it's like nice to feel like my mum's my best friend now, so it's really good. I definitely love myself so much more now. I write little positive like notes on the mirrors and stuff like that, something I view every day just to remind myself like what my worth is, and if someone doesn't appreciate who I am now, then why keep trying to force something to make them realise how worthy you are? Because someone should love you for who you are. You shouldn't be trying to prove that to them. And yeah, I definitely take notice of like narcissistic traits now. I can pick them up from a mile away, which is another thing that's definitely helped me grow from being in this program. Before, I feel like I was finding it hard to let go of relationships that were where I would feel like abandoned, but really I felt more happier once I let them go because they were just so unhealthy anyway. Honestly, I've been telling everyone about the Brain Wellness Store since I've come here. It literally is a life-changing experience, and I do recommend anyone who is in a dark place to come because it teaches you how to meditate. And it's just, I don't know, I just feel like it's definitely a life-changing experience. It's changed me completely. Since coming here, I feel like I've had like many opportunities like arisen as like working away. So I'm going to be going up north, and I feel like if that opportunity came any earlier, I wouldn't have been in the right headspace for it. I wouldn't be able to sit or lay in a room on my own for several hours, or like be away from my friends, family, or I probably would have stuffed it up by using drugs or something. So I just feel like it's like literally the perfect time where I've done a whole lot of healing in myself that I'm getting so many new opportunities in life to move forward. So yeah, I do a lot of exercise now. I've been doing CrossFit, and I do like one PT session in a week, and that's definitely just to keep my mental health in place. I feel like running is like or cardio is like a really good for your mental health. It just makes your mind way more clearer. And I definitely want to get into like a little bit of yoga because I feel like that will be good too, but I haven't started that yet. So I find I do so many activities now. Like last night I went to the driving range and hit golf clubs. I went out for lunch. I went to the play centre with my friend with her son. Like I just find that now that I've stopped living in that lifestyle of that little bubble, like I just do more and I see more and I feel more and experience more. I mean, I feel good where I am right now. If I feel like I need to do another boost, I will definitely come back and do that. But right now, I'm definitely in a place where like, okay, I just wake up and I'm happy and I'm singing and I'm dancing, and like sometimes I'll be dancing in my kitchen and I have no music on and I'm like, why am I dancing with the music? You know, but I just feel like I am in such a good place. So I might do the self-esteem, we'll never know. It's definitely worth coming. Like I definitely feel like there's no price on your mental health, because once you change your mental health, everything else around you just changes. You don't need to try and make that change because you're already changing everything that's in here, and everything on the outside just falls into place. So I would never say it's too expensive. I would never say that, you know, even if I found like I kind of budget myself just to make sure I can come here. So it's definitely worth it.